Welcome back to Koine Corner. This week we're taking a look at three very different ways to tell the same story. Jesus gives in all three of the synoptics, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, Jesus gives counsel about the dangers of causing children to stumble or to fall into sin, to putting a stumbling block in the path of children. He gives a cautionary comparison, and while not telling us what the other side of the comparison is, in three different ways, the three synopticists tell us that Jesus said, it would be better for you to have an ass's millstone, a donkey-driven millstone placed around your neck and to be thrown into the sea to drown to death than to face the consequences of putting stumbling blocks, scandalizing little children. I'm quickly going to read each of the three passages so we can see how they sound the same, and then we're going to break down some very specific differences in the way the gospel writers told this tale. So here comes all three of them, all three readings from the ESV. First up, Matthew 18, verses 5 and 6. Whoever receives one such child in my name receives me. But whoever causes one of these little ones who believes in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a great millstone fastened around his neck and to be drowned in the depth of the sea. Next up, Mark 9:42. Whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him if a great millstone were hung around his neck and he were thrown into the sea. Luke 17:1 and 2. And he said to his disciples, temptations to sin are sure to come, but woe to the one through whom they come. It would be better for him if a millstone were hung around his neck and he were cast into the sea than that he should cause one of these little ones to sin. Whew, that's a lot of reading. Let's start talking about differences. Three passages, three different ways of saying it would be better. Let's take a look. So Matthew says, sumfero auto. Sumfero auto. It brings together two or for him. This became a figure of speech about preferability, about something being better, because it's bearing together. When everything is coming together for you, that's a good thing, right? So if we say, man, everything's firing on all cylinders for John, everything's just clicking, it's all coming together for him. So in Matthew's account, Jesus says it would be sumfere auto, it would be better for him than ... It would be better for him if a millstone were hanged around his neck and he were cast into the open part, the deep part of the sea, than if he were to face the consequences of scandalizing the little children who believe in me. So that's how he says it as a comparison. His figure of speech is like, for him to get drowned in the depth of the sea would be all things coming together for him rather than facing this other thing. Imagine that. That's pretty vivid, isn't it? Let's look at Mark. Kalon estin autu malon. Kalon, good, estin, it is, auto, to or for him, malon, rather. It would be more good for him to have a millstone put around his neck and be thrown in the sea than to face the consequences of scandalizing the little children. Let's go on to Luke. Lucitele auto. It is advantageous to him. And this one's fantastic because lucitele has two words, the verb loose and the word tax. This is tax forgiveness. So what would be better for you in your life than finding out that your tax bill has been forgiven? It's been loosed, it's been released. So Luke says, having a millstone put around your neck and being dropped into the sea to drown to death is the equivalent of a tax holiday compared to what is coming your way if you scandalize the little children. Do you see how vivid these three things are? Drowning to death, it means all things are clicking in your favor compared to what would happen for scandalizing little children. Drowning to death means all good things are coming your way in Mark's telling. It is more good for you than what's coming if you scandalize the little children. And Luke says being drowned to death with a millstone around your neck is like a tax holiday compared to what's coming. Don't let anyone tell you that the Jesus of the New Testament is meek, mild, timid, and sweet all the time. Because he says you'd be better off, you would consider it a tax holiday to be drowned to death than what's coming your way if you mess with kids. Pretty significant, don't you think? Pretty significant. So there are 3 passages, and there are 2 different ways of saying millstone, and there are also 2 different ways of saying that it's hung around the neck. Let's take a look at those. In Matthew, hina kremaste mulos onikos. So hina kremaste, that it should be hanged, like tied around your neck, that it should be secured around your neck, hanged around your neck. What should? Mulos, mill, and onikos. The kos ending tells us this is being used adjectively, that it's pertaining to a donkey. So a millstone related to a donkey. So think about this. In a mill that's driven by a donkey, you have a very large fixed center stone, and on top of it is a movable stone that's really heavy, and it's driven by a donkey or plural donkeys. It's too big, it's too much work for a guy to do it. There are smaller mills that a woman would usually work that is like a stone jar with a free-floating stone that's turned with a handle. That's a personal, human-powered mill. But this is a big mill. This is a donkey-related millstone. The upper stone that is round and has a hole in the middle, because it has a pivot, having a hole in the middle is important for it to be hung around your neck, right? So here, in the Matthew telling, Matthew says, everything coming together in your life, rather than what you'd be facing for scandalizing kids, if the upper millstone that's driven by a donkey, the donkey-powered millstone, were to be hanged around your neck and for you to be cast into the open, deep part of the sea. Mark tells us, e paraketai mulos onikos, same mulos onikos, same stone, and he says, it would be better for you, it would be good rather for you to have that stone put around your neck, like the opening in the middle to be put around your neck, and for you to be chucked into the sea to drown to death, than to face the consequences of scandalizing kids. And then Luke gives us, notice this difference, a lithos mulikos pepiketai. So we get the same, paraketai, pardon me, we get the same verb as Mark, the same putting it around your neck, but it's a different stone. It's not a different stone, but it's described differently. It's lithos, stone, instead of telling us about a mulos, a mill, onikos, that's donkey related, we're told about lithos, a stone, that's mulikos, that's mill related. So a millstone, we're not given the specifics of which millstone, but we are told that again that it's put around your neck. The little millstone from the woman-powered mill versus the donkey-powered mill doesn't fit around your neck. So we can read into it that it's still the big millstone. Think about this for a moment. I don't care how good of a swimmer you are, if a stone that's so big that it requires donkey power, even if you are, what's his name, Phelps, the Olympian, you cannot swim, you cannot tread water with that thing around your neck. This is death. Let's move on. We have three passages, three ways of saying cast into the sea. All three ways of putting it around your neck. The verb for putting it around your neck are the same, but the phrase around his neck are all the same. So we're not going to bother looking at those. But let's look at cast into the sea, because these are interesting. Here's from Matthew. Katapontiste ento pelage tes thalases. So katapontiste is to be drowned. It's a passive verb, to be drowned, where ento pelage, in the open space, which when we talk about the sea, we're talking about the deep water, not near the shore, not in a rocky place where you can grab onto something. Out in the open sea, the open place, tes thalases, of the sea. So he says that the person, it would be better, all things are coming together in your life, if you get a millstone hanged around your neck and you get drowned to death out in the deep open part of the sea, rather than face the consequences of scandalizing kids. Wow! I mean, vivid, rich imagery. Let's go on to Mark. Mark says, bebletai eis tein thalasan. So bebletai is the perfect passive form of balo. So it would be better that you should have been cast, thrown into the sea, and because it's perfect tense, it's to be thrown into the sea to remain there. This is again like being drowned in Matthew. This is a one-way trip. You're being thrown into the sea with a millstone put around your neck, not to come back, but to stay in the sea. This is again death. All right, let's move on to Luke. Ereptai eis tein thalasan. Ereptai is a perfect passive form of pipto. So balo, cast or throw, pipto, fall or be dropped. So here Luke says it would be like a tax holiday for you if to have a millstone put around your neck and to be cast so that you fall into the sea. Also perfect passive, to remain there. Just like Mark had, you'd be you'd be thrown into the sea to remain there. Luke says, like if you cast or throw a ball, it's ballistic, balo, right? Luke takes the other side of the equation and says, if someone casts you pipto, ereptai, you have fallen into the depths of the sea. Both sides of the idea of being thrown. So Mark says it's better for you if they throw you and you remain thrown into the sea. And Luke says it's better for you if you get tossed or dropped and you fall or drop into the sea to remain there, no coming back. Both are death sentences. This is a vivid and wild story or metaphor that Jesus gives, this illustration of what would be better than the outcome that he doesn't describe of what's going to happen to you if you scandalize, if you put stumbling blocks in the path of children. This is something else. Each three describes certain death by drowning. I'm told that the only way of dying that is worse than drowning is dying in a fire. This is a horrific way of dying, drowning. And each one is couched as a far better alternative, a far better fate than the fate that awaits those who cause children to stumble into sin, to scandalize them, to put tripping blocks in their path. Messing with children has always been a major no-no. 399 BC, 400 years before Christ, Socrates is sentenced to death. Do you remember what he was accused of as his crimes that required him to die and be eliminated from the society in Athens. He was accused of two things. They said he was a promoter of false gods and a corrupter of the youth. Messing with people's kids has always been a no-no. Even in Socrates' case, where it was probably, what's the word I'm looking for? It was probably, it starts with a P, I can't think of the word. It was used as a false flag to get rid of this guy, to say, well, he promotes false gods and he's corrupting the youth. We have to get rid of him. Somebody out there right now knows what that P word is and is saying it out loud. Here we get Jesus turning around, recorded by 3 different gospel writers, saying, if you cause children to stumble or into sin, there's such a terrible fate waiting for you that it would be better for you, you'd be much better off to have a millstone either hanged around your neck or put around your neck, and for you to be drowned in the open depths of the sea, or to be thrown into the sea to remain there, or to be dropped out of a boat into the sea to remain there, to die at the bottom of the sea, drowned to death, than to face what's coming for you if you scandalize little children. This is powerful, powerful rhetoric. This is powerful, powerful imagery. And I'm always fascinated to see how the 3 different synoptic writers tell the same thing. This is parallel passage, and capture it or communicate it with such deliberateness that communicates the power of the story without the necessity of utilizing the exact same verbiage. Awesome stuff, magnificent stuff. What's the lesson? Maybe there's some practical applicability to our present age, but that's not for me to say. I leave that for you to go back and take a look at those things, those passages, and see not meek, mild, and timid Jesus who only ever exudes gentleness and love, but a Jesus that says, hey, you would think it was a tax holiday to get chucked in the ocean with a millstone around your neck than to face what's coming for those who scandalize kids. I hope that was good for you. If so, please share it, like it, subscribe, all that good stuff. And until next time, Charis Kai Reini Humine, grace and peace to you.